Right, so you want to get into DesEng. So I guess the first question is, in what way am I actually qualified to be talking about how to get into DesEng? So I got into design engineering at Imperial back in 2017, 2018, something around there. I graduated with a first class honours. I was on the Dean's List twice, so that's the top 10% of the cohort. I ended up spinning out a company from the course with one of the lecturers there. And now I'm currently doing a PhD within the department. And if you're the kind of person who ends up on the course, I will be teaching you your computer-aided design skills, as well as anything to do with additive manufacturing and 3D printing. So I think I kind of know what I'm talking about. Now, getting into DesEng is really difficult. I guess there's three main steps. But let's talk about the raw numbers of it. It's 7-to-1 applications to places. So you've got about 14% chance of getting in, which actually isn't that bad. That is a very reasonable set of odds. There will be a significant portion of those who just don't get the grades. And then of those people, there's a significant number who don't really get the DesEng ethos, get the idea behind the course. And so will struggle to get a place within the department. As for grades, being British, I'm going to go with just the A-level grades. You need an A star in maths and then 2 A's in whatever else you want at A-level. Now, that being said, there are preferences on those grades. So if you're doing something like maths, further maths, physics, that's going to be good. But equally, if you do something like maths, art, design technology, or something like that, that is also valuable. It's not just that they want engineers, they want a variety. So I think I had a friend who was on the course in the year below me, and she did something like maths, English, art as her A-levels, and got in and did very, very well for herself. So what they really care about is you can survive the maths, and then they want variety within the course. Because what you do on the course is you're basically creating startups every single year and creating these products, and you need a variety of people and a variety of skills in order to do that. So people who are better at sort of business and marketing and things, or who are better at design and graphics, or people who are better at the technical side of things, they are all equally valuable within the DesEng ethos. So yeah, let's get into it. So step 1, you just have to get the grades. So make sure that when you get your predicted grade, you get that A star in maths, ideally another A star, and then an A. And that will get your foot in the door. If you cannot convince your school and you don't think you can actually get the grades, then what's the point of even applying, I guess. I think now, which they didn't do when I applied, you have to do another engineering standard assessment or something. Prepare for it as you would any exam. I don't think it's really that important, and I'm sure if you're the kind of person who is good enough at maths, you will pass it with flying colours. It won't be too bad. Now, the more important thing, the more discriminatory part of your application will always be your personal statement. And the thing that I want to stress with this is you want to get away from just your academics here. Everyone who applies will have good academics. They will be getting A stars and A's in all their A levels. You need to show what else you can do. And if you're the kind of person where the bulk of your personal statement is things like, oh, I read The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman, it's not going to be interesting. What design engineering really likes is a action first mindset. They want you to go out, talk to people, find problems, figure out a solution to them, and then be able to communicate that effectively. And like, ideally this wouldn't be a school project, but you need to be building something. If you can't show that you're building things and you have this passion for creation, you're going to really struggle to get your way to an interview. So I'm trying to think of what I talked about in my personal statement. I talked about how I was building things from like day one. So I think I told a story about going to a family friend's house who had like all these slug and snail problems in their garden, and then coming up with these wacky, I admit, very wacky designs for anti-snail traps and things. But then I got onto more serious things, talking about like a drone building competition I won. I can't remember what else, but ideally you can go, say you went out, you found these people, you figured out a problem they have, and you don't actually have to create like a fully blown working solution to it. If you can create something like a Figma mock-up of an app or a website, or even just like a cardboard or foam model of the kind of thing you're trying to design, that shows that you actually care about the building of it, not just the purely academic side of things, which is so much more important, because everyone, I'm going to say this again, everyone will be good at academics. You need to be able to show that action first mindset that we really want to see. And the other thing you want to be doing, and from what I remember, lots of personal statements were really bad at doing this, is tell a story. Get good at storytelling, being able to describe and show the decisions and the emotions that went into what you did. This is one of the things that really tripped me up in the first few years in the course, is that they actually care a lot less about the technicality of it. And that's not saying that they don't care whether it works or not. You need to be able to sort of show that you know that it will work, but they care way more about how you communicate that effectively, especially to people who don't necessarily have the background that you have and the knowledge that you have. So you have to remember, the people who are looking over these things, the lecturers in the department, have a really, really wide background, a wide set of skills. We've got everything from like battery tech to deep like machine learning, game theory, but then like design psychology and engineering textiles and sensing and IoT. Like there's this breadth of knowledge in the department, which is fantastic. You get such a great education from it. But you need to make sure that your personal statement doesn't read just like a jargon heavy like attack of like technical know-how. You need to be able to tell the story of where you come from, how you've been, and do it in that really condensed format. Now that still will not get you in. Good personal statement will get you in the door and into the interview. Now it seems weird, but I believe all the interviews now are online. And the reason for that, I think, is actually quite good. It's all about fairness. So if you are international, I grew up in Dubai, so when I got my interview, I was in Dubai. You have to fly all the way over to the UK. You're jet lagged, then you're having to do your interview, then you have to fly back so you don't miss too much school. It gets very expensive to do a single interview. So what they're saying is, we don't want to disadvantage anyone or advantage anyone just because of their geographic location. And the easiest way to do that is to make everything online. So that's why they're online, I guess. And I think the interviews are tricky. Not in they're super, super challenging. I remember coming out my interview thinking that didn't feel difficult. And they don't feel like they're trying to trip you up. I remember the maths question was just like finding a gradient of a function, and then I can't remember finding the area under a curve. some like really, really basic calculus. It was like a quadratic. It was not that deep. But what they will do is they will probably not give you enough information, and they will probably be really ambiguous questions within your interview. And the reason they do this is because when you're designing, when you're building these products and these services and these systems, you almost never have enough information to actually make a decision. You just kind of have to reason about it and like figure out what uncertainty you're okay with, what you're not, and then find a way of figuring out that information. It's like I remember, it's probably okay to talk about my interview questions, but one of them was looking at prosthetics, which is funny because that's what my PhD's in. But it was like, oh, how would you design, like, what kind of considerations would you have for designing a prosthetic leg for a Paralympic sprinter? So it was talking about things like material properties and blah, blah, blah. It got quite technical, and that was great. And then they were like, okay, but how would that change for a prosthetic on like a night out for the same person? And what they're trying to get you to do is they're trying to see if you can understand like engineering problems within a human context. So saying, right, I understand that, like, you know, there's all these engineering requirements, the elasticity and the stiffness and the form of this prosthetic like running blade is really important. But actually, what wider concerns do you have? Like, how is it affecting the person? Like, do you want it super tight when they're running? Probably. Do they want it super tight when they're going out for like a night out? Absolutely not. But then even wider than that, even wider than just the single person, you have to think about the context that person exists in. So if I'm designing a leg for a Paralympian, I need to know all the rules and regulations regarding what can and can't be done on a Paralympic sprinter's leg. Like, obviously you can't strap rockets to it. That would be ridiculous, but also probably against regulations. So when you're answering the questions in interviews, try to start with some engineering, but then work your way out in terms of context and make sure that what you've engineered actually makes sense within the wider context of the question that you've been asked. The other thing you need to do is just get excited, which sounds slightly ridiculous. I know if I told myself at 18, oh, just get excited in the interview, I'd have been like, oh, that's naff, that's cringe, it's gonna be crap. But people like it when you're passionate about things, and if you can show up and channel that anxiety that you almost definitely will have, like interviews are anxiety inducing, channel that anxiety into sort of excitement and show how passionate you are about the things you've done, that is going to be fantastic. And you're going to get much higher chance of getting into the course if you can do that. And I think the last part of the interview, they may ask you to show some projects of yours, and it will not be very much time to do that. It'll be like 2 minutes at most. So what you need to do, and this is coming back to that communication point I talked about in the personal statement, what you need to do is be very efficient in what you're actually communicating. Be absolutely ruthless, and know exactly what the project you want to show off, and how to describe it as succinctly as possible, and in a way where you can ideally combine working with people, the public, understanding their problems, some of the engineering behind it, the key engineering behind it, and then maybe something about actually the physical embodiment of it, and how you validated this is like perfect stuff. If you can validate that thing you've designed has actually solved the problem, that will be like a perfect project. And you need to do that within like 2 minutes. It's a big ask, I admit. It's a really big ask. But if you can do it, it will be fantastic. I don't think there's anything else you really need to know about that interview. It's a very straightforward process, and the department is really good at keeping you kind of up to date and aware of what's going on. At least that's what I found. Yeah, just relax, because what's the worst that happens? I'll tell you what the worst that can happen is, because it happened to me. I actually did 2 interviews at design engineering. In my first interview, I flew over from Dubai, rocked up, and my ex, who I hadn't seen in multiple years, was there, and I had to spend a few hours talking to her. And I completely blanked on the day. Like, I had no idea what was going on by the end of it. So worst comes to worst, you can always do a gap year, reapply if you think that you've just, bombed it. And they will not hold it against you. They didn't hold it against me. And, I did very, very well for myself. Dean's List twice, so top 10% of the year. And then I was literally asked to do a PhD by my supervisor. So remember that it's an interview process, and just because you're rejected doesn't mean that you are not good enough to be part of the cohort. It just means that by some unlucky chance of fate, you were just cut from it. Maybe you didn't show up well enough on the day. Maybe your personal statement was a bit weak. Maybe the interviewer just didn't vibe with you. Who knows? There's so many applications. There's so many variables. It's not a damning indictment on your academic ability. And if you really, really want to, and you think you've been misjudged, take a gap year, do it again, and it'll be fantastic. It'll be fine. So yeah, there we go. 3 steps to getting to Des Eng. Get the grades. That's step 1. It's a requirement. It's not sufficient, but it is necessary. Your personal statement, step 2. Get away from pure academics. Show your passion and talk about a project where you've engineered a solution and ideally validated it. And when you're doing it, tell it as a story. Don't just state facts. We want to see some communication in those personal statements. In step 3, the interview, they're not going to trip you up, but they will not give you enough information. There will be ambiguous questions. Take a step back, take a breath, and just start talking through what you're thinking. Talk through the steps. Talk about what information you want, what information you don't have, and how that would affect your decision. And make sure you get a chance to show off your passion, show how much you care about engineering solutions for people, and you will be absolutely fine.